just trying to like really just highlight a good cause. And I feel like growing up in Buffalo, like hockey and watching the Sabres is always a fun pastime for me. So seeing my cousin, take hockey, like into his adult life and also fundraise for an amazing cause for it has been really awesome to watch. So just trying to support him when I can. And I think he's still doing it for the next year. So the link should still be active if people still want to donate. But I don't know if that means they have to break 12 days in a row, but they'll.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. We are having a lockdown edition of the episode, and joining me out of Brooklyn today is Meagan, also known as the Bevy Betch.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to speak with us about your Instagram and everything you do in the craft beer related community and everything else that we're going to talk about today.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
So pre-show, we mentioned since we are recording in January, most people are doing a dry January. You yourself had mentioned you are already doing one, so I'm not going to ask you what you're drinking unless you'd like to promote the kombucha you mentioned pre-show.
Just a kombucha, mango lime, nothing crazy. I think you can get it at pretty much grocery store. So, but it's keeping me, occupied during dry January. So
it's a fermented beverage.
Right. I kind of was thinking about that today. I was like, is that a loophole if it's like 1% still or 1 to 2? I don't know.
Well, I mean, people are chugging non-alcoholic beers all of dry January. Non-alcoholic is becoming a lot more popular of a beverage now. So yeah, as long as you're in a sense supporting, your local community places or, made in USA, made in Canada, since you're one of very few Americans I've actually gotten to speak to. So that's it's always fun to speak to somebody in a foreign country, because right now it's impossible to get to the US. As for myself, I was lucky enough to grab some American beers last time I visited. And out of Buffalo, I have Thin Man Brewery, Peanut Butter,
Bills,
Jenkins.
Love Buffalo and Thin Man.
Yeah. It is Imperial Stout at 11.7%. And I'm a fan of peanut butter stouts. So we'll do a virtual cheers when you're up for it. Or as we say on this show, toast. A toast. Yeah. Ooh, that is tasty and smooth, and not 11. Oh boy, 11%. That's dangerous beer.
You're on like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. That's great. So what's your beer story? What brought you to beer Instagram and craft beer and all that stuff?
So the beer story is kind of ironic because it doesn't really start with beer. I think a while back, I actually started sending these Snapchats to friends as a joke of seltzers. This is kind of before they really took off and every company had them. So I think like maybe mango for White Claw was out, or maybe not. I feel like that was the threshold of the explosion to every flavor. But there was this one brand, Great Basin. It had like mountains and it had a few like really random flavors for the time. So I was starting to like send them off as a joke. And I think like there was like a hibiscus flavor that I like commented that it tasted like dirt. It did taste like the earth. So I did that for all the 4 flavors in the variety pack and kind of got a random response from my friends back. I just sort of kept doing that. I really only did it for seltzers, though. I don't know why. That was the thing at the start. But then come around the pandemic, there is a local like beer stop bar called the Sampler in Bushwick that when everything was shutting down, they put all of their stock on sale. So instead of buying, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, anything of importance that everyone ran out to get, my roommate ran there and got all of like their craft beers and stuff. I feel like before then I really just stuck to visiting breweries and like tasting flights, things like that. It wasn't really much deeper than that. But once we started picking up cans from them, and we got like a pretty good deal, I think, on like almost like a 12 pack of them. So it was pretty awesome start. And I started sending the Snapchats during COVID for the beers instead of the seltzers because I was just bored and drinking these beers. And then I just had like random encouragement from people. They're like, hey, you should take this off Snapchat. You should do this on Instagram. And that's kind of how it was born. It was a pretty good hobby to start during the pandemic. So kept me occupied for sure. And it kind of tapped into like, I used to take photography classes and stuff like that. So it was really fun to, set up the beers and kind of get those different shots. And I kind of just took off during boredom of the pandemic. So yeah, that was my hobby I started.
I mean, you can tell your shots are very professional style, like from what you've seen, from what I've seen, it's pretty consistent across the board. It's always there's always something to do in that image to catch. And as you mentioned in one of your New Year's posts with Tali,
I think it's Talia.
Yeah, it looks like, it looks like a fresh winter one. And being in the northern part of the US, closer to Canada, you know what a winter's like.
Yeah.
So you have like that wintry fun goodness to the image. It's
I think I summoned some snow with that one too.
Yeah, and you can tell across the board, like from your Christmas one, from your obviously the zombie hop Christmas vacation image. The images are very professionally taken, and it looks like you have the same idea with me. Of sometimes just a label grabs you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you'll be at the beer store or whatever craft beer stores that I know there are some in Plattsburgh, so I'm assuming it's the same. It's like a craft beer convenience store. You'll just be like, oh, that label. I don't care what the beer tastes like. I need to take a picture with that.
Right. Yeah, I definitely am guilty of that. I've seen a label and sometimes it'll be a beer that I probably would not have chosen based on like the notes or, like the style. And I see the label, I'm like, nope, I need to have it. And I'll try any beer, whether or not I know I'll enjoy it or like, like the risk there. It always, like varies. But so I'm definitely guilty of buying cans based off their label alone. I can't lie there.
Yeah, that's my personal beer purchasing habits. Or sometimes it's like, oh, I feel like Crispy Boys, so it's all lagers and ales. And then it's like, oh, I feel like some strong stouts. And then it's like, ooh, I want fancy labels. So it's
right.
It runs the gamut of my purchasing. And thankfully, a lot of these businesses have remained open during the pandemic. I don't know about your personal experience in the Brooklyn area, as you mentioned. I know here in Quebec and Montreal, we've had more breweries open than close during this pandemic. So.
Yeah, I think, like they were able to pivot pretty well for doing like pickups. And like, I think a lot of them were pushing their cans during that time. So I feel like that was kind of their lifeline. I know for a while I was just picking up cans from our local spots and me and my roommate would drink it on our roof or like on our balcony. We had a few little like outdoor havens that we had a beer, we had our own personal like little outside bubble. So we were good. And I think like a lot of other people have that mentality, especially like in the city, there's so limited places you can enjoy stuff that's not overcrowded. So some of the spots, especially in Brooklyn, I feel like have more, they're more open and everything. So even some of the ones like this past year when there's spikes happening or things where it's like, should I be going out? Should I, like, no one knows what to do. I feel like a lot of spots were able to adapt pretty well for the breweries, as opposed to some of like the smaller bars that, are like in Manhattan and are crammed and,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I went to last time I was in New York, I went to the birthplace of Untappd, the Pony Bar in Manhattan. And I'm like, this place is so tiny and I can't imagine what the rent is like for these poor guys. Like,
oh God, yeah.
I mean,
right.
I know here in Montreal, our rent's starting to spike, but I've heard for decades rent in New York City is atrocious. So.
Right. Yeah. It oddly did drop, but I think this past summer everyone came back. So I think it's just right back to where it was. Yeah. So I think there's like a few months where it was a little cheaper. And then now they're like, well, everyone's remote or everyone's this, like, so things are just back to normal, I think, for us at least.
When it came to breweries in your local area, I know, unfortunately, here where I live in Quebec, we didn't, but in Ontario, there breweries were allowed to deliver. Was that an option in New York State?
Yeah, so I think a few of them do like local deliveries. So I know like they have their own trucks that will just go throughout like the different boroughs. And then I've definitely seen a few that are also doing like full statewide shipping. So I know like a decent of them, you can order them, but you do have to order like a case or something. So not always ideal. But I think they definitely like ramped that up a bit. I know my locals, I would always just like order ahead and just go and pick it up. But I know you could either like have them bring it out to your car and have like the car service too. So definitely like kind of open those channels. And we did have to go beverages for a while, which was really nice. you could just get like a craft beer and just walk around, and that was pretty cool. Especially like I'm not super close to the water, but if I head down the subway a little bit, I'm a few stops away, so it would be nice to just pick up a drink, walk towards the water, like it was just like a different setting. It kind of felt like New Orleans does that too, where it's like open container, and it gave me that vibe, which was definitely not something I've experienced in New York City. So it was kind of a cool feeling to have. And then they took it away, but apparently they're bringing it back. So hopefully that's true.
I don't know if you could see, but jealousy is running rampant right now
Yeah.
because that is just
I know
simply...
when I saw like there might be a chance it comes back, I'm like, come on, like let's give us something here.
So jealous of that. I mean, right now where I live, everything is closed, even patios, and in Ontario, outdoor patios are allowed as long as they're heated, but it's also minus
cold,
40
right
here. So that's not really, even on an outdoor patio, it's not that comfortable.
Yeah.
But I mean, drinking while walking is a great thing because you're not driving. So you're being very responsible when you think about it. And that makes me super jealous of where you live at the moment. So
right. And I think maybe that's why they like kind of allowed it for so long, is so many people aren't driving here, and maybe that's the difference. But I definitely wasn't complaining.
Yeah. When it does come to your Instagram, I mentioned pre-show, I do like how you mention you kind of have your triple breakdown of the thing. You go from taste to branding to overall with a out of 10 rating. What made you decide to kind of do that versus just, because me personally, on a Thursday night, I'm like, oh, I drank 4 beers. Here's my favorite of the 4. What made you decide, like, here's the beer, here's why I liked it, or here's why I didn't? Like, what brought you to that mindset when creating the specificity of your Instagram?
I think it kind of just happened organically, where the original one was, instead of like branding, it was like look or like feel and stuff. I think that kind of stemmed from getting these variety packs of the seltzers. So there was a different like colors for each label, or some brands, stuck to, they always had the same kind of label and they just edited the fruit on it. So seltzers were a little bit more like nuanced in their changes. It was kind of just like bringing in the different brands and like, oh, White Claw versus Bud Light seltzer or something like that. And then I think it turned into the branding when the craft beers came in, where it was like an actual label and a piece of art. And I think for me, like, that's what actually got my like interest almost into it even more. Cause like I said, I used to go to like breweries for flights and things, and I've always enjoyed tasting different beers, but I feel like it's been really cool to see the different styles of the breweries. So I really wanted to include that category for the Instagram, just because I enjoy it. And I feel like the different accounts I have seen now and the few I saw at the time before I started my own were all just like, here's my beer, here's what it tastes like, or it had like aroma, things like that. And I kind of wanted mine to like more like cut to the chase, like, this, like, you're either going to hate this if you like this or love it if you like that. And I don't get too like detailed into some of that, because I feel like sometimes you can get lost in a paragraph of that. So I kind of like trying to break it up. And I think it does highlight a whole different aspect of the craft beer industry by bringing the branding in along with just the tasting, because you have some people that are like these comic book illustrators making these designs, things like that. I know like KCBC, like they have insane labels. They're always like punny, like riffing off like famous like movie titles, which, so not only is their artwork super like intense and illustrated, but they also just have these funny titles for the beers too. So I think like the deeper I got into it, the more I appreciated that. And I think like that's kind of where the overall aspect of it comes in. It's like, maybe the beer wasn't the greatest I've tried, or, like the best IPA I've had, but I feel like they really pay attention to detail or things like that, where I definitely would still be interested to try others from them and give them, another chance if I didn't like the first brew I had from them. So yeah, I feel like I kind of just stuck with that.
No, it's super cool. It's not like crazy overly descriptive as some Instagram posts are, but like I like the people I follow on Instagram the way I like my variety of beer and the variety of every other thing I like in my life. Is like, I need a variety where you yourself, you have 3 different kind of a breakdown, and it's nice and quick, and here's like my out of my 10. And then there's people who are like, oh, here's the hops you tasted, and here's why I liked it, and here's this and here's that. And it's like, it's good. To me, it's good to have a combination of everything, because that way you can learn more from other people at the same time.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think that's also cool is like you do see like some of the people that focus on different aspects, you know, like some people are only there for the photos of the beer and they don't even tell you, like they're like, yep, good luck trying to figure out what's inside of it, you know. So I just kept the format that I was doing for the Snapchat, and it kind of changed like a little bit, but overall that's what it was from the beginning. So kind of just tried to make that my thing. And I feel like the point scale system, I've thought about that because I do see people using like different emojis and different things like that. I just started it like where I felt like it was fun to just be like 10 out of 10 for something that was good, you know, just like, yes, 10 out of 10, like, let's go. This is it. I definitely have thought about maybe doing like, you know, like one beer if it's okay. The cheers is great. The only reason I feel like I've thought about changing that is because it's so subjective. Like the IPAs I like could taste like shit to you or vice, you know, like so it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what like number I give it out of 10, you could give it something completely different. So I have thought about like maybe changing it or getting rid of it, but for now it stays. So I guess stay tuned there. We'll see what happens.
Your username, the Bevy Betch, why that? Why not Meagan Drinks Craft or any variety of, you know, lady drinks beer or anything like that?
I think the bevy part was the first part. So I knew I didn't want to just stick to beers because I started with seltzers. I do throw sometimes the occasional seltzer in there, or like a cider even. So I didn't want to just say beer in case, you know, like I do post something else than beer, you know? So anything that was like beer or brew, like kind of was thrown out the window, and I kept coming back to bevy. And then randomly, I think I was like Bevy Betch, and I was like the Bevy Betch, and I kind of just kept saying it. I was like, you know, I kind of like that. I think when I sent the reviews as Snapchats, I was a little more like ruthless with some of them, but now when I like see the breweries and like the people that are behind making them, it's a little like hard to be super sassy. So I've dialed it a little back, but I feel like the badge kind of was bringing in that sass, you know, so I kind of just kept like coming back to it, and I was like, you know what, this is it. Like, why try to like think of something else? So, yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as you're being honest in your posts about what you like and what not, why not?
There's definitely, I've had some savage ones in there.
Yeah.
There's been ones where I'm like, you know what, I had to pour out like this entire, like, there's been ones where I don't hold back. So like, if warranted, you know, I'll definitely make sure it's honest and everything. And I feel like there's like nicer ways to say like, this wasn't that, you know, like, so it's a little bit more of a spin, but I always make sure that they're in, you know, an honest review for sure.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being honest, but not being a jerk about it at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So that's at least from what I've only unfortunately able to get to like 10, 15 of your posts. So it's like, you seem very honest and straightforward about what you post. I don't know what your interactions like versus Snapchat to Instagram. I am in my early 40s, so Snapchat is a wild world of I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So, you know, my nephew's like, yeah, Snapchat, dude. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, kid. Or TikTok,
right.
I'm lost. So,
yeah.
But do you find like, are you getting better reaction on Instagram versus any other media platform that you're trying to post your stuff about, your social media postings?
So since I started Instagram, I actually stopped sending them a Snapchat. So I made sure like my friends I would send it to, I was like, you got to convert, you got to follow, or like, you're not getting this anymore. So because like those, you know, it's kind of more of a direct message. So like people open it, they can respond or like, just let it just kind of like disappear. It's not really something you comment or like or share. So wasn't really anything to be gained from Snapchat, I guess. So once I started the Instagram and actually like really focusing on the content of like a really nice picture, I wasn't just sending off these, you know, like little snippets that just disappear. I just kind of stopped focusing on that. So I pretty much only have the Instagram. I have thought about TikTok, but I'm still trying to master the reels. I feel like videos are such like a different like game, and sometimes like I like can really get the hang of them. I'm like, wow, that one was so easy and great. And then I have another idea for one, and it's just not doing anything I want it to do and I give up. So I think I need to like master reels on Instagram first before I open up that door too. But yeah, just pretty much the Instagram right now.
Yeah. When it comes to reels and things like that, I legit need training from my nephew and niece who are half my age. So it's, you know, maybe more so my nephew. My niece is busy with work and stuff, but my nephew is all about social media. And I'm like, maybe I could use some training from him when he's nearby. He's a hell of a lot better than I am at it. So I try and not include my filthy room in my pictures. That's about it. So.
Nice. That's like half the battle.
Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier that you started in seltzers more or less and then switched to craft beer. Do you remember that? Who brought you over to craft beer, or did you bring yourself over to craft beer? What was that like? I like craft beer. I'm going to stick with this stuff for a bit.
I think it was just the variety, like once you send like one seltzer, even if that same brand comes out with like 5 other flavors, it was kind of like boring to comment on the branding because, there's only so many times you can be like, oh, this color combo on the same exact label from like, it's the 6th new flavor they have, but they haven't changed anything else but like the tab color or something like. So I guess it kind of just got boring. And I think because doing it kind of when COVID started, that is when we started trying all these different craft beers. So it was just more exciting to be like, oh, this label is really fun. We can have a cooler shot. And kind of just kept going down that path. And I think the breweries just come out with so much more content and more like interesting labels. And I feel like every brewery always has a new drop happening. Whereas, it's like Bud Light, like what weird flavor can they have for this season? And it's like eggnog that's spicy or, like it just gets to a point where I'm like, I don't want to try that truly, I just don't. Whereas a different IPA, even if it's only slightly different than the last one, if I know it's a good brewery and the label's cool, like, let's go, let's try it, So I think the seltzers just kind of hit their plateau, and I'll still try, like, if it's a new weird flavor or if there's something I feel like unique or interesting about it, I'll still try it and I'll post it. But, I feel like I like the mango white claws, and if I'm drinking a seltzer, that's just what I gravitate towards. So just not much going down that channel anymore.
Yeah, I haven't been personally a huge fan. I tried one during the summer. It was like watermelon kiwi. I'm like, it's refreshing, but it's not beer. Like, to me, it's not beer. But I've also drank some fantastic ciders, so it's like, okay, well, there's that as well. We recently as a show interviewed the birthplace of the ice cider in the world, and it was like, oh, these I was expecting just a punch of sugar to the mouth, and it's just so well balanced. I'm like, see, like, you guys obviously work on this so much that, and what your fans like, so that's why you go for those. And even there's craft breweries here in Montreal that are making seltzers now because they're seeing where everything's going. But should I try them eventually? Yes, but right now there's at least 24 new beers from 17 breweries a week. How am I ever going to keep up? I'm going to have to live a million years to even try the beers before today and what was created, let alone in the future. So it's crazy. And you mentioned, and Troy from Nabras even mentioned, it's like, oh, there's pandemic going on. We can't be stagnant. We have to get customers in. We have to create something new every week.
Right. Right. Well, I think like there's been a few breweries that have tapped into like the seltzers too. I know Evil Twin has like an Evil Water, which they had like one that was very seltzer like, like just the carbonation and everything, but then they had more of a fruit based one that was just thicker and a little bit of a different consistency, but it was actually really good. I feel like I've looked to see like what other flavors they'll drop, 'cause those ones are definitely like interesting to try, but they don't always have them, or like I feel like they have more beers more often than they have the seltzers. So but they've definitely had some interesting ones come through. So I feel like if I am going to try something new, it's going to be more along those lines versus, like now it's like Heineken has a seltzer or whatever. Like any of the macro breweries that have seltzers, I don't know. It's just too hard to know which ones are actually worth buying a variety pack of. So just stick to like the ones I do know for that.
Yeah, like I mentioned pre-show, I was in New York City prior to the pandemic in November, December 2019. Evil Twin is the one that's kind of that gazebo. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like a greenhouse.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to remember. So they're the ones where each beer name is a paragraph.
Oh yeah, it's like a full sentence
Yeah.
where maybe there's periods, maybe there's not, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember looking and going, I can't name all those words because I've been drinking craft beer all over Queens and Brooklyn all day. I want 1, 17, 14, and 12 because it's so complicated. So, especially if that's your last destination before like back home or back to the hotel when you're in New York City. That's a lot of words to use. So, but it was super nice last time I was there, and I do look forward to getting back to New York City. I'm hoping for when baseball turns to football season, so I could get multiple sports in at one point.
Nice.
Speaking of sports, you're obviously predominant about it on your Instagram. Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, go Bills, Bills Mafia, man.
Yeah. So I went to a Bills game about a decade ago. Tailgating there has by far been the best I've been to for the 7 NFL games I've been to.
Nice.
I don't remember when I went people going through tables or Santa Claus getting beat up by people. It's been a while. So, but from there, now obviously you have your most recent, it looks like you're going to make a koozie or a magnet or something.
So that one was actually just updating my logo. So my logo is like more like, like a teal coral type color scheme going on. And for Halloween, I updated it to like be black with like purple and green. Christmas, I added a little Santa hat, got like a lot of people reacting to that. And then I was just kind of thinking like, this has been fun to kind of update it. Because I've been trying to learn like different design platforms. So part of what I like to do for the Instagram is like kind of just try to have little side projects and use it as a example. So I wanted to see what I could do for the Bills. I had one version that had a helmet on it and it was just too chaotic. Like there's too much going on and it didn't work, but I brought in like the Bills Zubaz print into it and just kind of tried to make this little animation of it, a little like hype reel and stuff. And so until we're out of the playoffs, I'll keep that up. Knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't jinx us. But yeah, so just having a little fun with it. I'll revert it back to normal. And then I guess like St. Patrick's Day, I'll really try to like update it, but just kind of having fun with it. Yeah. So I've been changing that for the different seasons.
Best of luck on your Bills meeting my Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say because you're on different sides. So I'm okay with that.
Right. Hey, I'll be here for that.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so now I've been to, obviously, I mentioned earlier, Queens and Brooklyn, but I didn't get really experience it that much. Let's say I come down and get to meet up. What are like those 5 definite places that you're going to bring me to where I'm going to try craft beverages in general?
So I think it's funny because like I don't have a car here, and like some people that's just such a foreign concept. They're like, what do you mean you have a car? Like you don't go in, like you don't drive. I'm like, well, no, like you just get on the subway. So I feel like I always tell people 2 things. If you want to go to like the real breweries and have like a good experience, you have to leave Manhattan. Manhattan, you'll get like, like more craft, like bottle shops and things like that. So you can definitely get like, like good breweries and stuff there, but it's just, you're not going to experience the brewery itself. So I tell people to take the L Train Express, which I like to think of it. It's like this own little like L Train, like beer tour. And you can actually hit like a few awesome spots. So there's other half that has a few spots in New York City now. They have one that's right on the water at Domino Park. So awesome little like tap room. They do have different drops than their original New York City location. So depending on like, like when you come, it is a different stock, but that one's for me, like not as convenient to get to. So like I keep that one, kind of off like what I tell people, but you're still hitting other half, and other half is amazing. So either way, you're not going wrong. And if you continue down the subway, you can also hit like Brooklyn Brewery, Talia, which you mentioned earlier. That one's one of the newer ones. It's women owned. Nice. I think vets, co-founder women. So, and they're vets too. So it's really awesome. They kind of have like an Art Deco feel to their place, which is just something different. I feel like, everyone's used to it being like a warehouse or something. And this one doesn't have that feeling at all. And they actually do really well with like their sours and their lighter beers. I feel like they give them just different flavors that I'll have one. And I had a Kolsch from them the other day, and I stick to like more IPAs and juicy ones for beers or sours. So like that wasn't a beer I would have typically have gone for, and I loved it. And I like wanted to keep drinking it. So they always are surprising you with what they come up with. But and then if you continue on the L, you can still hit Grimm. They always have awesome, like I feel like their saisons are great and their sours too. And then also KCBC's right here locally. They're the ones that have the awesome like comic book style can labels. And if you continue on the L, then you can end at Evil Twin. So you hit up like this insane amount, and you don't have to drive, which hopefully if you're hitting all those breweries, you're not driving. So, but that's like my little like beer, like tour guide. I'm like, this is what you got to do. Just go on the L and it'll like take you to all these awesome spots. And even if you skip one or two, you're just getting insane spots regardless. So that's always my motivation. I'll like die on that hill.
Yeah. There's days I have difficulty driving downtown Montreal. Having thankfully taken public transportation last time I was in New York, I will not drive in that city because I thought we were bad. I was wrong. So,
well, especially in Brooklyn, like Manhattan, at least like it's easier to navigate because you have like, like the numerical streets. So like you're either going up or down, like, it's a little easier to be like, okay, like I'm on 47th, we're going to 49th. Whereas Brooklyn, like, good luck. Like, I don't know. I would not want to drive out here, and all the good spots are here. So just Uber, Subway, anything.
Yeah. Uber, Subway. If hopefully somebody else drives, because I personally, Then again, I know you guys didn't get, it's the 20-something year anniversary here in Quebec where we got nailed with the ice storm. I learned to drive when I was 18 during the ice storm, so I can drive during bad weather. I can't drive with other bad drivers, though. So that's kind of the downfall. And that's why with New York City, when I get to go back, I will be taking a lot of public transportation again. So,
yeah.
And from what I remember, your subway system is super convenient. So
once you like get the hang of like which way is which, like I feel like most people like they'll get on like a platform and they're like, wait, Queens or Brooklyn? Like I just need to go down, or like, like, so I feel like once you can kind of like orientate yourself and navigate it that way, it's a lot easier. It's not hard to pick up. You just kind of like have to like, just, I don't know.
Most of us do carry a portable computer at all times. So
that's true.
There's just not that issue when it comes to it. Awesome.
Google Maps will be your guide. Yeah.
When it came to your Snap and or now Instagram, have you actually collabed with any brews on any possible upcoming projects, or is there some maybe in the pipeline that you'd like to talk about? If not, some dream collabs you'd love to do with a couple of local breweries?
I haven't yet. I've definitely like thought about it. I think since my accounts, like I've had it probably a year and a half, a little over a year. I kind of am just focusing on getting that more, like off the ground. And I feel like really like interacting with different people all over the place has been what's really awesome about it. So been trying to like more so focus on that. So no collabs currently on the horizon. I feel like I'd love to do something with KCBC just because I think like there's so much potential with their, like, I feel like all of their labels are almost their own little story. Like they have penguins that are like in Manhattan, and then the next label they're in Paradise. Like they always switch it up, and it feels like there's a genuine story with them. So I feel like that's just really cool. And I'm always drawn to theirs. So that would probably be my dream. And they're probably like the closest brewery to me current, like location wise. So I just feel like they're my neighborhood go-to for sure. I definitely would be open to others, but something that I think is more on the horizon, and we'll get there eventually, but not ready for that yet.
Yeah, no, I know there's one brewery that always draws my eye whenever I'm down in the US, and it's Clown Shoes Brewing, because the art is wild. So it's, there's
Okay.
a cat shooting lasers at its eyeballs, and there's a clown
Pure chaos.
attacking, a giant clown attacking a city. It's like, oh my God, like it's so much, but it's so cool. And then when I show that to my friend who's a comic book artist, he's like, whoa, dude, what the? I'm like, yeah, dude, some of these guys and ladies in the art industry, when it comes to brewing, your mind would be blown. So
It's insane.
yeah.
And I
And
think that's like the cool part of it too. It's like there really is no limits for it, like because it's a beer label, it can be super obscene. It's not cereal. You don't have to like market it towards a kid or something. Like you can just have something that's for adult audiences where you can take it to that creative level or give it this weird, chaotic storyline.
yeah,
There's really no boundaries. So I feel like that's just the awesome part of the industry for sure, is you get such a variation from one brewery to the next.
I know they're based in Niagara. I think it's Silversmith. They have one of their images is an altar boy, but his lower half is that of a goat. So he's like Satan, but in the version of an altar boy. So,
Oh,
you could play with it however you want, as long as you're not
yeah.
using foul language. I think
Right.
because there's probably some sort of law where you can't have stuff with foul language on a shelf that's not like X'd or starred out and stuff.
I know there's one label that says like it's instead of batch, it's like raging bitch.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that beer. I'm trying to think if the I is crossed out though.
Yeah. I know
As soon as you said that, I thought of that one. I'm like, well, this one is definitely not holding back. I don't know.
There's a brewery in Ottawa, which we've interviewed. Whippersnapper, a brewery's owner is Ian. Every year he makes a get the F out, and then he just puts the year at the end each time. So
Nice,
I think we all know what get the F out means. So there's no question about that. Awesome.
Right.
I did want to mention you do have a link on your Instagram, the 11-day power play for Nicholas Carl. Tell us what that's about.
So that's actually my cousin. He's been a part of this fundraising event for the past few years. And pretty much what it is they actually get a group of people to fundraise and they play hockey straight for a certain amount of days. And it's whatever will break the current record, which is normally what they previously set. So I think he started when it might have been like 7 or 9 days in a row, but this past year was 11 days. And they also limited it to 40 players. So I think they used to do it where there was different teams, different shifts, like within your team, you had shifts. So like it was a lot more broken up, but since it was only 40 players, your team was your shift. So you pretty much, you're playing at like 2 a.m. some nights for like, yeah, it's pretty intense. They have to train for it. So when they're training, they also fundraise for it. And it's ultimately fundraising for cancer charities. So I think this past year for this record, they actually surpassed 2 million, which was really awesome. So I try to help with that. And I think I did a giveaway. And if you like donated any amount, I would throw in extra entries to it. So I just had that link there and I'll try to like promote it every like now and then when they're doing a post, or I know like they'll also like sync up with local breweries too. So I think it was Thin Mint actually and Sullivan's Brewery that had a specific beer for it. So like they put that out. And that one was pretty, like that was one of the reviews that's on my account too. So try to kind of tie it all back.
Yeah.
It was related somewhere in there, but just trying to like really just highlight a good cause. And I feel like growing up in Buffalo, like hockey and watching the Sabres is always a fun pastime for me. So seeing my cousin, take hockey, like into his adult life and also fundraise for an amazing cause for it has been really awesome to watch. So just trying to support him when I can. And I think he's still doing it for the next year. So the link should still be active if people still want to donate, but I don't know if that means they have to break 12 days in a row, but they'll full capacity. It's not limited to just 40 players. I think that was just a 1-year thing. So hopefully they get a little bit of break in there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the website right now. It looks like donations are still active. So as of the time of this recording, you can still donate for those. I'm sure it's across the world if you want to donate online, kind of like GoFundMe or Kickstarter or anything like that. So, hey, this is great. And you mentioned there's a brewery that evolves itself. I know us as a show, we've been trying to do our own philanthropy thing. We're trying to either get a softball tournament or a golf tournament going that involves craft breweries. So yeah, a pandemic kind of put a bit of a kibosh on that, but here's hoping, knock on wood, to within the next year or two. I'm trying to remain cautiously optimistic about everything that's going on. So
nice.
And I know the guys in Southern Ontario, the Burlington, Ontario region, they have something where they donate to Children's Hospital. So nice. the way we see it is, support local and donate local. So it's that simple. Right. Don't donate to UNICEF, donate to 11 Day Power Play or the McMaster University Children's Hospital or here in Canada, because we have PK Subban. He matches dollar per dollar for the Montreal Children's Hospital. Donate local, just like you drink local. So that's the way we see it. So
definitely.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to add that in the show notes. So anybody who's watching who wants to donate, please click on the link in the show notes. On a lighter note, when it's safe to travel again, I like to ask this: a couple of beer vacations. Now, there's two I like to ask. One where, yes, I have to have a job and I have to make a paycheck. So it's like maybe a week or two somewhere. And then let's say, I know in America, your lotteries can go up to like $700 million. But let's say you won like 50 million after taxes. What are those two realistic and then the dream vacation?
I think
beercation specifically.
Right. The realistic one I was trying to kind of do before COVID happened was really just to actually make it to Oktoberfest in Germany. My roommate's cousin was in the Berlin Marathon, so she was going to go for that. And then they were going to stay a few days extra. So I was trying to like sync up with them and see if I could join and, really get that experience. So while that didn't happen like 2 years ago, I'm hopeful that'll still happen. And I think that one I would be okay with just a few days because I don't know how long I could last there for more than that. But so one day, especially I know like international travel is hard right now, but still trying to keep that on the horizon. And I think one that would I'd love to take longer and really like have a journey of it would really just be doing like a West Coast trip on like the California coast, all the way up to like the Pacific Northwest or even into like Canada too. I feel like there's just so many good breweries that if you had like a camper or RV, it would be awesome to just, take your time, visit all the gorgeous like coastal spots and then really head up whatever breweries along the way. So that one, like if I could do for a month or however, I mean, I do work remote. So or like, maybe the van life, like one day maybe I could make that work, but I don't know. I already like live in a closet in Brooklyn. So I feel like I'm cramped enough that way that I'm not sure if the van life's for me, but to do it for a month, I think would be awesome. And I know like going from like San Diego has so many cool breweries and then all the way up to like Portland. They don't have their shortage of them either. So I think that would really be an awesome adventure that one day I hope to cross off. So,
I mean, I constantly say, a broken record here, but pretty much from the Niagara region surrounding the U.S., this entire eastern part of North America, we are very spoiled for beer. I mean, you got New York City, you're a lot further from Vermont than I am, but 70 breweries in the state of Vermont. Maine's got like 100 breweries. It's New York State. I mean, just from Saratoga on, almost every little city has a brewery. It's insane. Along that 87 or 89, there's breweries everywhere. So
I know I was like, that was a tough question because it's like, man, I truly feel spoiled where I'm at because I think like the few breweries I just listed off earlier, that's just, that's off of one subway. That's barely like touching all of New York City's breweries and stuff. So like, I almost feel too spoiled where people are like, oh my God, you have the other half. And I'm like, oh, it's like 2 stops further than this brewery. So sometimes I don't go I don't always go there and things like that. So we really don't have a shortage of them. And I think that's probably why I'm like, let's go to the West Coast because West Coast has, but still there's definitely some really like awesome spots. And I feel like I even worked remote in Austin, Texas for a bit. Like I was there for about a month-ish. Had a lot of like good spots and good places that I already want to set up a trip to go back to. So there's just always trips that there's never enough time for.
It's funny. I actually remember seeing a YouTube thing. There is a young woman outside of a brewery in Austin saying that there's something about like they worship the devil and stuff. And she's like, oh, the devil's evil, but she's wearing a Motley Crue shirt. I'm like, hold on a second. This is so contradictory. I'm so confused.
What?
But yeah, there's wacky people out there. Thankfully, I'm getting to speak to a normal person today. That's what I like to say. So that's awesome. What's next for the Instagram, or are you going back to Snapchat? Like what's kind of next outside of possibly getting to collab with the brew? Do you see yourself maybe making merch, things like that? Like what's kind of next for it?
I mean, I have made like a few shirts. My sister has one of those like pre-cut machines, so I'm actually wearing one. It's like got the little logo on it.
Is that your COO that I saw on your stories? Because I saw in your stories you have a COO, Chief Operations Officer of the Bevy Betch.
Yeah, that was just my roommate. That was like our
okay.
joke. So like the start of COVID, we would have our beers on our balcony and call it our management meetings. Just pure chaos. Like, yeah. So like that was her title. So like I dubbed her that. And then like I kind of gave my title as the HBBIC. So it was like head Bevy Betch in command. So, like pure nonsense. But that was when we weren't like doing anything. We weren't leaving our apartment. So yeah, I got us.
Yeah. This has been a fantastic talk. I honestly have no other questions. You've been a more than gracious host with us today. I really appreciate it.
And thanks for having me. This was great. So looking forward to when it comes out. And yeah, it was a pleasure chatting with you tonight.
Awesome. So we're going to add your Instagram and everything else on our on the episode notes, as well as the link, like I said, to 11-Day Power Play. For those watching, if you can, please donate. If you've got the extra cash, I'm sure every single dollar helps.
Yep. I mean, definitely does not hurt. So
no, for sure. As for us, we're at All Beer Inside on all social media. Personally, I'm at Killer Carpe Diem. You can watch me drink 4 beers on a Thursday or watch a horror movie and add it with a beer on some other night. If you like the show, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment. We always appreciate anything from you. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.